Alright guys, I'm going to go ahead and start this video. I know I've been kind of putting stuff off. Work's been getting to me. I've been tired just dealing with crap. So this is a video I've been wanting to do for the longest time since I started flying with firearms. So this is going to be my video, flying with firearms in 2022, with references to 2021 of last year when I first flew with a firearm ever. So let's get to it. So the first thing I'm going to go ahead and cover is know your local and state and local laws, where you're at and where you're going. Because if you don't, you could get into some pretty big trouble. With whatever you're traveling with, high capacity magazines, your certain firearm, ammunition, whatever, knives, anything. I mean, really, people get their panties in a wad about really anything. So, I mean, just make sure you know your state, local laws, where you're at and where you're traveling to, and make sure you adjust accordingly. So when you go ahead and start traveling with a firearm, there are a couple of requirements that you do need. So as far as gear goes, you need a hard-sided case. This is the Pelican 1720. Yep, this is just the Pelican. This thing has served me well for the one time that I've flown. Hopefully many more. Yeah, I really can't say much about it. I mean, it's the most durable thing I've ever seen. So, I mean, TSA, or I don't know if it was TSA, but they literally took chunks out of the whole thing. I mean, there's other places where there's nicks, dings, chunks, scratches. Make sure you have a good, durable, hard-sided case. TSA specifically requires that you have a hard-sided case. Locks. When I flew, check your airline and TSA rules, because the rules do vary. Some airlines might have you have 4 locks. TSA might only have 2. Always go with 4. I highly recommend it, because then you can get in a whole boatload of trouble. I flew with American, so they require you to have 4. Only TSA requires you to have 2, but always go with 4. I was even complimented by the ticket agent on having 4 locks, because I guess people have not been having 4 locks, they've been having 2, and that's when they get rejected at the counter. So get 4 good locks. I have some master locks here. I don't know what model these are, but they're all good, high quality master locks. So this firearm's secure and it's not going anywhere. So have a good quality lock, and always have 4 locks. That's my personal recommendation. Now, granted that some of the, the airline ticket agents, they might not know the rules. So always, I would say, print out the rules, save it to your phone, save the website information or whatever. Because, I mean, well, here's my experience with it is I walked up to the counter. I wanted to declare a firearm, and I pretty much had to walk the lady through the process, because she had little to no idea what she was doing. So yeah, I mean, I made sure I read up on the rules. I was clear on how to follow them and proceed, and everything went smoothly, and I went there with no confusion and no chaos and no extra needed BS. So know the rules. Just know the rules, for goodness sakes. I mean, it's not that hard. Just read, print out the paper, do whatever you got to do. Just make sure you know the rules, please. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and get into how you should pack, or however you want to pack it, with a few tips. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how I packed mine. You guys can take my idea. Well, I'd rather you not, but you can do whatever you want. So this is how I flew with my firearm in 2021 of last year. Now, I mean, this was still in the middle of the whole pandemic scare and everything like that. But you know what? I went to my grandparents. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and take my rifle and just see what happens. So I went and took my AR, and oh my goodness, this thing's coming undone. I haven't used this thing in a while. But yeah, this is pretty much my layout. So I'm going to go ahead and explain some things, how you should pack it, how you want to pack it, do whatever you want, but here we go. All right, your rifle. Your rifle should always be unloaded. I recommend getting a dust cover for your scopes, LPVOs, red dots. Always make sure your red dots or LPVOs or any other electronics on your firearms are turned off. If they do have if they do have lithium-ion batteries, I would personally take those out, because I took my light out of my Surefire Scout here. I took that out just to make sure I had my butt covered. I had no issues whatsoever. So just make sure you have any other lithium-ion batteries out of here, as to not have any confusion with TSA or airline safety. Scopes off, LPVOs off, red dots off, I'd say just across the board, just keep them off. Make sure your gun's unloaded. Triple check, double check, triple. I'm getting my words mixed up, guys. I am so sorry. It's been a long day at work, so here I am making a video about flying with firearms. I mean, who would have thought? But double check, triple check, quadruple check. I mean, you can never be too safe with this stuff, so make sure your firearm is absolutely unloaded. I mean, if you aren't sure, just always pull this up, just check, make sure no any loose ammunition fell in there. You know, nothing in there, although you could keep your Form 3s in there for your Class 3 firearms or anything like that, suppressors, what have you. Or you could keep it on the bottom in this next pad or whatever you want to do. It's up to you. All this is personal preference. But, yeah, that's pretty much how... All right, the next thing is you can have... Make sure you have unloaded magazines. Some states will allow you to... Some airlines will allow you to keep your magazines loaded. I prefer to not have my magazines loaded just for safety issues and to ease the process of going through security, TSA, and checking and declaring a firearm. So you can pretty much travel with as many magazines as you want. Just try not to go over the weight limit, or you might get tagged and bagged and all that good stuff. So yeah, here's my CMMG 22 conversion kit mag. I have two 20-round magazines, steel. I do not fly with any 30-round polymer magazines, because usually when I'm flying, I'm either going to be doing some hunting or anything like that. Therefore, I don't really have a need to fly with 30-round mags. I mean, I'd like to, but as you can see, space is quite limited. So I choose two 20-round magazines and a 40-round, 50-round, 22 mag for CMMG. I don't know. But this thing works great. I'll hopefully put a video up soon about this. I am so sorry I've not gotten to that. But yeah, two 20-round magazines. And then as far as your ammunition, you can have any ammunition you want in a factory box. I mean, then again, check your airline rules, check your TSA rules, make sure you're following the guidelines and not getting in trouble, because if you do, you can get longer wait times, you can get denied, you can possibly get fined, and maybe even worse, arrested. And Lord knows we don't want that to happen. So make sure you're following the rules, guys. So this is just a box of 223 that I have cut out here. I cut this deep enough I can actually carry two of these per cutout, and then I always have some larger hunting ammunition. This stuff is some Underwood 55 grain controlled chaos, which is good stuff. I have not shot any of this yet, so hopefully I'll get to do that this summer. When I fly, I will definitely be bringing my firearms up again, so that'll be part 2, and hopefully I'll be able to get a more detailed report to you guys and see if anything's changed, but I withdraw from that. Another thing I have in here is my bipod. I went and cut out my bipod. That's all folded up and good and stowed. I went and cut out a little slit for my CMMG conversion. This thing has run like a champ. There's no damage to it, no matter, I mean, I would say the baggage handlers kind of treat this stuff roughly. I mean, it's a Pelican case. I mean, as you can see right there, I mean, I don't know if that's just the... I mean, there's definitely a nick in there. I mean, you can tell they definitely treat their stuff rough. I mean, they see, oh, hey, look, it's a Pelican case. Let's beat the heck out of it. And I'm like, well, guys, there's a firearm in there. I mean, it doesn't seem like they care. This is why you're getting a Pelican case, because of stuff like this. So this case actually protected this quite well. Nothing's bent, nothing's broken out of place. So that's always a good plus when you're flying with firearms. And it's always down deep into the foam as to keep everything somewhat impact resistant and safe. So I can close that up, and my conversion kit is perfectly fine. So yeah, that's pretty much how I have everything set up. As far as traveling, I do have a slit right here. if I do need to carry like a little pocket knife or anything like that. Yeah, that's pretty much my setup. I really don't have much to tell. And just to reiterate, please, for the love of everything that is gracious, holy, and sacred to our Second Amendment community, please do not fly with a magazine in the gun. Please, for the love of everything, please keep this gun unloaded. Use common sense. Don't try to scare people. Don't try to intimidate them. Don't make people uncomfortable. We want to be good ambassadors for the Second Amendment community. So please be smart, be safe, and keep your stuff organized. I mean, the more organized it is, the quicker you'll get through TSA, the quicker they'll scan it, and they'll be like, okay, everything's clear, and you should hopefully have no problems whatsoever. So that is that. I'm going to go ahead and walk you through the process on how you would approach the desk, and we'll go from there. All right, so here's going to be a little bit about my process when I went through and what they expected of me and what I kind of can convey to you guys as far as flying with firearms. So I went through Tucson International Airport. For those of you who don't know, I live in Tucson, Arizona. I probably shouldn't have said that on YouTube, but who cares? So I went through Tucson International Airport. So I went to the airline ticket agent and I said, hey, I was actually quite nervous because I didn't know what to expect. So I just tried to be as professional, as calm as I could. Walked up and said, hey, good morning. I would like to declare a firearm. And they said, okay. The first thing they pulled out is this little card right here. And that is what you will sign. I flew with American, and you will sign that, declaring that you are following federal regulations and your firearm is unloaded, checked, and secured. They'll fill out that. They'll have you slip it inside of the case here, and that should be the end of it. And hopefully you should be on your merry way here. So yeah, and then that's what I did. I was on my hip and little PSA. I mean, they don't accept cash. If you guys are walking up there with cash thinking, I mean, I did that. I was thinking they accepted cash. I didn't have my debit card with me because it got lost, or, well, I actually had my debit card stolen, or its security was breached, or whatever you want to call it. I don't know. So I did not have a debit card at the time. I was actually using my phone for contactless payments. Thankfully, they had a little a temporary little debit card machine that you can put a little money on some card, and I used that. Thank goodness that saved my butt, or else I would have not flown with any firearms. So I went and filled this out. They put it in the case, had me just make sure everything was reiterated and unloaded and everything like that. Went on my merry way, and that was it until I got to Sioux Falls. Then they went ahead and gave it to me in baggage claim. But disclaimer, they may not have it on the carousel. They might have it on the carousel. It depends on what airport you're going through. I went through Sioux Falls in South Dakota. And what they did was I just waited. Everything was off the carousel. I got my backpack, and then I went to oversized luggage, and there they roll up the door, and they just ask for your ID. You show them ID. They match it up with one of these tickets on here. I don't know which one it is. I'm really not sure if it's that number right there, but they'll match that up, and they'll hand you your bag. You'll be on your merry way. And that's it until you get back to your airport that you need to go to fly back home. Now, quick note, those of you flying through other airports that do not have TSA, like Sioux Falls International Airport, they don't use TSA. They use BOS security, and what they do is they pretty much treat it like TSA, except they had me open my luggage, show that the firearm was unloaded. They actually kind of tugged on the locks themselves. They unloaded and tried to make sure it wasn't opened easily. This obviously wasn't, but they all did that right in front of me. So they went ahead and put that in there. They put a notice of inspection, so you're not clueless as to, oh, did they open my bag or not. So I appreciate that from them. Although I prefer they actually never do that ever again, because it's my property. I don't like people looking at my property if I'm not right there with it. But thankfully they were. I was right there. everything was clear. I walked them through it again, yet they didn't know what they were really doing. Well, I mean, the South Dakota people kind of knew, but the Tucson, Arizona people at their airport had no clue, so I walked them through it. And then they'll issue another one of these. You'll sign that. You'll be on your merry way. I came back to Tucson later that week, and I waited at the terminal for my backpack, and I waited, about 45 minutes, maybe to an hour. And I went to the oversized luggage at American. And I'm like, hey, I have a package. I'm wondering if it's been dropped off. And like, what is it? I'm like, is it? That's a firearm. And they're like, okay. I was like, I showed them that they give you a little stub that goes with this that they rip off right there. You keep that stub and you can give that to them. They'll match it up for you, and they should hopefully have that with you in a couple of seconds or minutes or whatever. As soon as they get unloaded from the plane, me and another guy waited about 20, 30 minutes for our luggage. Everyone got their luggage off of the carousel. They left. We're just standing there like a bunch of bums, just waiting for our guns. Thankfully, because no one was there, we were both waiting for guns. I mean, I didn't really want to spook anybody that late at night. I was like 11:30 at night, so there wasn't really anybody in the airport to begin with. But anyway, I got my firearms. They needed to see my ID. They just checked it out, made sure. I waited 20, 30 minutes, no big deal. I was on my merry way. So that's going to be my little video on flying with firearms. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I know I probably stuttered a lot or whatever. Leave comments. If you have any suggestions, let me know. If I didn't answer any questions, go look at some other YouTubers. I'm sure they've answered the questions more than I could. So thanks for watching. Yeah, if you have any questions, just like, share, subscribe, hit me up in the comments. If there's any other videos you want me to do, go ahead and let me know. So, all right, have a good evening, guys.